Here's the trailer for Adolescence. This is the show that just came out on Netflix that a lot of suburban parents have watched. Okay, when we're talking about the wine moms, Netflix and chill, they're watching this show and they're like, they've never seen anything like this before. They're hearing these terms that they maybe have picked up once or twice, but realizing how in the cold they are.
Police! What are you looking for? You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
He hasn't been found guilty. He's been accused. What have you done?
Look at me now!
It's crazy what your brain tells you to do when you're a kid.
Okay, so this show just came out. I watched it all, and I am going to start off by saying that just from like my, not even getting into the subject material, but just how technically amazing the show is, the acting, it is phenomenal. Owen Cooper, who plays 13-year-old Jamie Miller, that is his acting debut, and he is a fucking phenom. Like, the nuance in his performance, and also considering that each episode is one take. There's 4 episodes and it's one continuous take, which requires a lot of upfront preparation, because when you shoot this way, you can only usually do like 2 takes in one shooting day. It requires a lot of the performance. You have to be dropped in the entire time, and the way that filmmaking technique, what it produces is a feeling of immediacy. You're right there in the drama and in the action. It's got a kind of gritty realism to it. The acting, the performances are incredible. Stephen Graham, who co-wrote it, he plays the dad. Across the board, Aaron Doherty, who plays the psychologist, is incredible. Stephen Graham, honestly, such an underrated UK actor. Maybe one of the best to come out of the UK. To start off, what is very concerning to me is how many people went into this show and even watched all 4 episodes. Their conclusion was, so did Jamie kill Katie? Yes, this is not a spoiler, okay? I really can't spoil this show because it's not a whodunit. The point of the show is not a murder mystery. Anyone else really disappointed there wasn't a massive twist at the end of Adolescence? And I wrote, we need to stop requiring a plot twist in any show or film that introduces a murder. The point of Adolescence is that it is not a whodunit murder mystery. Instead, the series seeks to examine why this violence happened, although it's clear that there's not one simple answer here. Anyway, everyone should watch this. Just please don't miss the point of it. Like, truly, people who have watched this show that miss the entire point of the show. We need to open the schools. Yeah, I made my mom watch the show. At the end, she said, I still don't think Jamie did it. Oh my God, dude, it is clear in the first episode, 13-year-old Jamie committed a murder, okay? And then what the show looks at is the culture around Jamie. What is it that produced such violence in such a young person towards another young person? That's what the show is looking at. Each episode focuses on a different aspect of Jamie's life. So the first episode is the arrest, and it takes you through the police station and the interview and et cetera, et cetera. And then there is when the cops go to the school, there is the Jamie talking to a child psychologist who is evaluating him to basically give her professional opinion to the judge. And then what's happening with Jamie's family. And one thing I noticed is that throughout the show, we are in the perspective and the position of adults who are looking at this situation and have no idea what is happening. They have no idea what's going on. Whether it's the cops, whether it's the teachers, whether it's the parents, it really positions you as the adults in this story, looking at these young people and not understanding what is happening. The showrunner was inspired to do this series based on some news reports of stabbings by young men. It's not that like young people in the past have not committed violent acts before, but he's like, I need to take a look at this violence as it is being produced by this online toxic cultural misogyny. The other thing that's driving me fucking insane is how, of course, now you have people on the right who are talking about adolescence as in it is anti-white propaganda because Jamie is white. Let me tell you right now that what this show explores, it is explicitly making the point that it is not about race. This is about young men and boys. And of course you have like the worst actors on Twitter being like, oh, so this is the face of knife crime in the UK. This show isn't about knife crime. They're mad because the protagonist is white. But guess what? There are boys around Jamie who are not white who are also part of this culture. I think the responses to this show Adolescence are hand in hand what the show is getting into. I don't really know if Jamie did it. Well, is there going to be a season 2? It's not about a season 2. Lisa? So we've got the why is there no twist? I don't think that Jamie did it, which there is a character in the show who literally goes, Jamie didn't do it. Videos lie. And then you have real life viewers of the show being like, no, he didn't do it. And then you have this is just about white people. What about violent black boys? And it's like, this isn't about race. This is about how we need to be having these conversations with these young men and boys, no matter their race. And now I will say that the show doesn't get into the specifics of incel culture. It doesn't like do a deep dive into Andrew Tate. He is mentioned by name a couple times to just give you an idea of how these adults do not know what's going on, of how somebody like Andrew Tate, his rhetoric is being brought into classrooms. I've read from teachers, I've talked to teachers, and this is a problem that they're sharing around with their classmates stuff that people like Andrew Tate are saying. So it's not just living online. It has bled into the real world. And a lot of teachers, they don't know what to do. They are not aware of this online phenomenon. And so they're left in the dark. I think what sets this show apart, it doesn't deeply explore incel culture. It's also not the first time that the incel attitudes have been brought to screen. What it does is it situates its viewers within the perspective, in the position of adults who are trying to wrap their head around this thing. It also gets into like the sexuality of young boys in episode 3, which I think is the best episode of the 4. It's the one between Jamie and the child psychologist, and we see Jamie shift from a petulant child to like a dangerous, filled with rage, cocksure young man. Then he defaults to needing approval, wanting approval from the woman who's in front of him. It's not that it's this new thing that adolescent males are experiencing all of these emotions, that they are, interested in women type of thing. That's not new, but it's looking at like how the internet, an ecosystem like the manosphere, is accelerating digitally this anger and resentment that these young boys feel, and that it's directing them towards expressing hate to women, to queer people. When that is taken to the extreme, it results in this 13-year-old boy stabbing his female classmate. But anyway, so overall, I thought Adolescence was really quite tremendous. I thought it was incredibly topical, of course, and I thought that what it sought to do differently from other shows or films that have touched upon things like incel culture, I thought it was novel. The performances, the direction, the way that the series was shot was really powerful, and I do think it's something that a lot of people should watch. It might be the first time that adults, certain demographics of adults, are exposed to this kind of stuff. They don't understand something like incel culture. They don't understand this umbrella of get rich quick, alpha male, hustler, bro working out mentality. 3 actors who play Jamie, the kid, and then his parents. And Stephen Graham, who co-wrote the show, is talking about what in part inspired the show, why they decided that they needed to make it.
I read an incident in the paper.
I already watched this. I have to go to the
and
bathroom.
It was about a young boy killing a young girl, stabbing a young girl to death. And then not long after that, I saw on the news, on the television, that, it happened again in a completely different part of the country. And if I'm really honest with you, both of those incidents really hurt my heart. And it just made me think, what's going on? What's happened in today's society where a young boy feel a need or this urge or whatever it may be, I'll never understand it, to kill a young girl. I said to Phil, this is the idea I'd like us to focus on. And then we created it together as a collective, do you know what I mean? And that's our main aim, to try and create conversations within the home, with parents and their children. We try to pass our moral code on to our children as much as we can, if, ones that we've developed ourselves throughout our lives. Also in school, we have an obligation to try and teach and help our children. It's the collective who's responsible in many ways, you know what I mean?
I do think that that's a good way. Okay, if we're looking for solutions here, like how do we talk to young people? I do think we need to look at it as like a community effort. It's not just, okay, well, if it's your kids, then you take care of your kids. Because kids are surrounded by all different types of adults. It's not just their parents. And there are situations where, of course, working parents who don't even have time to sleep. They're just trying to keep a roof over their kids' heads and provide food. They are not in a financial position to have all this time to be sitting down and having conversations with their kids when they're working 3 jobs. Boys and girls, they need good role models. We talk all the time about role models. Not every kid has a parent who can serve as a role model for them. And so sometimes that's a teacher, sometimes that's a coach. A lot of times what we're seeing is it's someone like Andrew Tate. It's these guys online who are offering themselves up as role models for these kids. Andrew Tate says, I don't eat breakfast because that's for soy losers. What I eat is a bowl of hate. Literally, this is what he does. He wakes up and he just starts consuming hate. And then also, I don't know, steroids and a big bowl of fuck you. And that's not healthy.
I know Andrew Tate's name is mentioned in this, although you've said you don't really want the show to be dominated by that name.
It is mentioned.
Do you know how many times I will see people post the pictures of Hassan in his Catgirl outfit as a way to be like, Hassan's a pussy. Hassan's not a real man, because that's what they have. That's their ammunition. They're like, look at this man in a dress. This isn't a bro. He's not one of us. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Look at him in makeup and wearing a dress. He's not performing masculinity
in this show, but it's only ever mentioned by adults, and that's really deliberate, because Andrew Tate is the way that adults understand this issue, whereas actually the people who are doing the real damage are not him. He's not taken seriously by kids. There's a lot more pernicious presences out there that are the real damage. But it's not just about the parents, it's about everything. It's societal, it's governmental.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We need to be talking about male rage and how male rage has been enabled by social media.
Yeah, and what I said before is obviously male rage is an important issue to be addressing, and how it's accelerated in these digital spaces because of things like the manosphere. We can't treat rage as if it is only something that men feel, because when we look at acts of violence, it usually is committed by a guy. And so just because women and young girls are not acting out in these violent ways, and of course there are instances, of course, but it doesn't mean that they are also not filled with rage, that they are also not insecure and isolated and alienated, and that there is nowhere for their rage to go. To move away from talking about what this show was exploring, what observations it was making, and just talk about this child actor, I think this kid is going to be a star. Owen Cooper. I think Owen Cooper is going to be a big time star.
I didn't know I was going to learn the script because Phil said it's going to be done in one take. So I thought he was on about like one scene or like one part of the episode, but he said all 4. So at first I thought I was never going to be able to do it, but then luckily episode 3 I just grafted the script and learned it. So yeah, so I did it. Yeah.
That's amazing to turn up first day. Every rehearsal's completely off book.
And on top of that, you know, he'd never done any acting before. At all. None. He's a unique talent.
Yeah.
He's a very unique talent. He really is, honestly. I think he's a generational talent, personally.
So I'm going to go off of we've all been teenagers. Maybe some people in here are still teenagers. You know that frustration when adults dismiss you, when they treat you as a child who knows nothing of the world, and that they're gonna, they make all the decisions for you. You grow up, we all grow up, and it's like we do the same things to the next generation, that we treat the youth like they're just dumb kids, that they don't understand anything. It's not to say that there are not unruly teenagers who need to be roped in. I'm not like, just give teenagers total freedom. Let them, don't guide them or parent them or anything. No, but I think it's having respect for young people. That's the thing. Like adults, you want kids to respect you. You're like, because I'm older than you, you owe me respect. Why? If you don't respect them, why the fuck should they respect you? I don't think they should.